Hi everyone, it's Mr. Hoffman, and this week we are starting a brand new unit on music in the movies. You might notice that there are captions at the bottom of this video. I am trying something new with Google Slides where when I'm presenting it, it will automatically generate the captions. So hopefully that works pretty well. Let me know if that's a feature that you want me to keep using. So this brand new unit has a bunch of different things. There may be a project at the end. We'll see if we get to it. But we will cover the history of movie music. We'll talk about some famous movie composers. We'll talk about the elements of music. We'll do a little bit of scene study, and there will be some mini assignments along the way. Our learning goals for today are: I can learn new music terminology, make a connection between film composers and movies that I have seen, and discover differences and similarities between two music scores that I enjoy. Here are our vocabulary words, our terminology for this lesson. These are some words that we might come across. Film is just a fancy word for movie. The score is the background music of the movie. The composer is a person who writes music, and the conductor is a person who leads an orchestra. History of movie music. Music has been in movies as early as 1895, but not in the way that we know today. Before recorded music, there would be an in-house pianist or scores written for orchestras to play live music while the movie is playing. It wasn't until the 1930s that you saw recorded sound come together with the movie itself. These new movies were called talkies because you could hear the actors talking. History of movie music continued. Some orchestras actually still play along live with movies today. To the right is a photo of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra preparing to perform the score for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. That's the first movie in the series of 3. And it's an amazing experience to see the score come to life. Famous composers. In the music world, there are many famous composers. There are even composers that specifically compose just for film. Movies start out with no music, and it is up to the composer to watch the movie and create music that reflects the scene and goes with the story. I will add that sometimes, and increasingly these days, composers are involved in the movie making process much earlier on. So they're often working on the score even before the whole film is actually finished. And it's easier to do that these days with digital technology. In the next few slides, you will learn about 5 of the most famous film composers. You may have seen some of the films they worked on and didn't even realize who composed the music. Let's dive in first with my personal favorite, John Williams. John Williams is a very famous film composer who has written for lots of films, many films, including Harry Potter, the first 3 of those, all of the Star Wars movies, all 9 of them, plus a few others, I think, Home Alone, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones. I'll add also E.T., Superman. He composed something for the Olympics once, and many other films. He has won a lot of awards for it. He's won 25 Grammys, and in 2005, his score for the very first Star Wars movie to be made, Star Wars: A New Hope, was selected as the greatest American film score of all time. And I have to admit, I agree with that. Our next composer is Hans Zimmer. He's a German film composer who's written music for many films, including The Lion King, Pirates of the Caribbean, the whole series, and the Dark Knight trilogy. Since he began his work in the 1980s, he has made music for over 150 films. He is also the head of the film music department at DreamWorks. Howard Shore is a Canadian composer and conductor, and he has composed for many films, but his most famous ones are for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. So all 6 of those. And for 5 years, he was also the music director on Saturday Night Live, the TV show, a comedy TV show that maybe your grown-ups might watch. Danny Elfman, another very famous composer. He's a jack of all trades, kind of. He composes, he produces, he sings, and he's also a voice actor. And he is a close collaborator with Tim Burton on many films, such as Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, and The Corpse Bride. He's written over 100 scores for film. Our last composer that we're going to learn about today is Michael G Aquino, and he is an American composer who writes music for movies, television, and video games. He's worked a lot with Pixar Studios on movies like Zootopia and Up, and also for the video game The Incredibles: Rise of the Underminer. I guess based on the villain at the end of the first Incredibles movie. All right, so this is part of your assignment. This is the first of 2 slides for your assignment. You're going to see on this slide that there is an X. There are many different X's next to the slide. They're sort of off of the view of the slide, which is why you can't see them now. And you're going to drag those X's into the box next to any movie that you have seen. I'll show you in a moment, because I don't want to get rid of the captions. So the next slide is also part of your assignment. You're going to listen to 2 movie scores of your choice, and you're going to compare them in this Venn diagram here. Just remember that the middle of a Venn diagram is for similarities. So your job is to choose any 2 film scores. Any 2 film scores. You might use the list on this slide as like a list to choose from if you're not sure what movie to do. And you don't have to watch the actual movie, but I would go on maybe YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or something like that, and search for the movie and the movie title and then soundtrack. So for example, you might search for Mrs. Doubtfire soundtrack or Doctor Strange soundtrack, and listen for a little while, maybe 20 minutes or so. Maybe pick 2 or 3 individual tracks within that soundtrack and compare them. And you're going to put what's special about the one score over here, what's special about the other score over here, and then anything that they have in common can go in the middle. So let me just show you all about that. We do have here, again, Venn diagram, so you can just click inside the box to add your notes and make sure that you add the title of the movie scores up here. Over here, I mentioned that this slide has, I mentioned that this slide has a bunch of X's to the side, so now you can see that. And you're just going to drag the X over to the movie that you've seen. So that way you can let me know what movies you've seen. And I'd also love to know in the private comments what you have, which one of these that you have enjoyed. Now, if you haven't seen any of these movies, like really haven't seen any of these movies, feel free to add a text box. Maybe just up here, if you want. You could give that a background. You can just type in some movies that you have seen, especially if you have enjoyed the soundtrack or the score. All right, well, that is all for this assignment. Thanks so much for all of your work on this. And please wish your moms and the mom figures who are in your lives a happy Mother's Day from me. Yeah, thank you, moms, for all that you do for our students and for our teachers. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you the next time I see you. Bye.